wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now.
Former President Donald Trump reacting to his guilty verdict today. It is the first time in history a former U.S. president has been convicted of a felony. A Manhattan jury finding him guilty of all 34 counts of falsifying business records in his election interference trial. Sentencing is set for July 11th. That is just days before the Republican National Convention. He could get probation, even prison time. No matter the verdict, Trump can still run for office. Joining us on this historic day, former Commerce Secretary, former Democratic Governor Gary Locke, and also, I believe we have with us, do we or do we not have, State Attorney General Rob McKenna, who I think is dialing in right now. Gentlemen, are you with me?
Good to be with you, Joyce.
Gary, we're going to start with you as we wait for Rob McKenna to hopefully cross our fingers, join us live. But first, as you know, the former president now a different figure in American history than he was yesterday. What is your reaction to this verdict today?
Well, this is unprecedented, and it's going to have some effect on the election, especially in the swing states. You have a lot of people who voted for Nikki Haley, and even though she withdrew from the Republican race, many of her followers and supporters said that they still could not cross over and vote for Donald Trump. So I think that this felony conviction will cause them pause and perhaps reinforce in their minds either they're going to vote for President Biden or they're just going to stay out. You know, being hardcore Republicans, they're going to say, I can never vote for a Democrat, but because of this conviction and other things, I will not vote for Donald Trump.
We're going to get to some poll numbers in just a minute. Rob McKenna, our former Washington Attorney General, has joined us. So good to see you. Your reaction, a former president, now a convicted felon.
It's a reaction of sadness. It's a historic day, but not in a good way. I'm sorry that this former president took these actions that led to this conviction. Obviously, there are a lot of unknowns right now, but immediate reaction is a sadness, mostly for our country.
Trump said today that the real verdict is going to come, Gary, as you mentioned, November 5th. Eric Trump posted this on X. I'm going to quote, May 30th, 2024 might be remembered as the day Donald J. Trump won the 2024 presidential election, end quote. So, Rob, how do you think this is going to impact the electorate? Rob, that question's for you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was listening to your producer. I think that the polling shows that some voters will not vote for the former president in November because of this conviction. And, it remains to be seen how much of an actual impact it has on the election outcome. It'll definitely motivate his base, but it's not a good thing for him, obviously. It'll hurt his prospects overall.
You know, we keep talking about the polling, so let's just show our viewers what that polling says. This is a Marist poll that just came out today. 67% of registered voters saying that a guilty verdict would not change how they vote. 76% saying the same thing about a not guilty verdict. Less than 10% saying that a guilty verdict would make them less likely to vote for the president. So this does tell us a little bit leading into November. You know, Trump was asked one question after the verdict that he did not answer. So I guess I'm going to stick with you for a moment, Rob, and I want to pose the question that he was asked to you. Why should Americans vote for a convicted felon?
Well, they shouldn't. But if they don't believe that the verdict was just because he was tried in a deep blue city by a Democratic DA, et cetera, I mean, they can discount this case. Most legal experts think this is the least important of the cases against him. The cases involving subverting the 2020 election and mishandling classified documents are more serious. So I think there'll be a lot of voters who will discount this. Just as the polling suggests, it's a relatively small number who say their minds are changed by this particular case, but that could change in the future with the other cases.
I want to talk more broadly now just about our justice system. We heard the former president call the verdict a disgrace, saying that it was rigged. Several Republicans came to his defense today, including the House Speaker, who called this verdict shameful. Mike Johnson saying that, quoting now, the weaponization of our justice system has been a hallmark of the Biden administration. The decision was more evidence that Democrats will stop at nothing to silence dissent and crush their political opponents. Gary, what does that kind of rhetoric, basically trashing our justice system, what does that do to the way we know democracy?
Well, I think it's very damaging and very hurtful. As a former prosecutor, a person who has a passion for the law, who appointed public defenders and defense attorneys to the bench, and people of all different ideologies, I have great concern that there needs to be respect for the rule of law, where people believe that a little guy can take on big corporations or the government. And it doesn't matter what your status is or what your wealth is. So for the former president to make these characterizations about how rigged our judicial system is not good. You know, I was concerned that the jury might actually be hung because of the complexity of the charges and the in some ways confusing or complex jury instructions that the judge gave. Very complicated, very hard to comprehend. But what was gratifying to me was to see how seriously the jury viewed this matter, the gravity of this matter, knowing that it was a former president, and this would be a felony conviction. And yet they asked to see the transcripts of the testimony of several of the witnesses, and they wanted the judge to reiterate and repeat what the jury instructions were so that they had in their minds crystal clear what the evidence was, as well as how they should view the case. So they took it seriously. So it clearly was not a slam dunk. It was not a matter where they had made up their minds ahead of time. They deliberated and they thought through this very, very carefully.
Rob, it's really the beauty of our system, right? It goes from a grand jury, becomes a case, goes to a jury of our peers, 12 everyday regular people. I mean, it really is sort of the beauty of the system of our democracy, is it not?
Well, you now add to that the ability that the defendant has to file an appeal and have the application of law checked, not so much the fact finding. And he'll have his opportunity now to appeal and argue that charges were too vague. And I'll give you one basis I can see for an appeal, which is this, that he was charged with 34 felonies. Normally, business record falsification is a misdemeanor in New York, and it's charged as a felony when you're charged with other crimes. So if you commit business record falsification to further the felony of embezzlement, for example, but he wasn't charged with any other crimes. It was suggested that he was falsifying records to further his chances in the election, but he wasn't charged with a crime. Cohen was charged with a crime. He pled guilty to campaign finance violations, and the prosecutors in New York City at that time decided not to charge Donald J. Trump. So I think a weakness in this case is the decision to go for the felony convictions. I don't think the evidence that he knew about the false records was weak. That seemed pretty strong. But the idea that it's a felony because of other crimes for which he was never actually charged, I think that's a problem, and it does make the case look somewhat more political in the minds of some, and I think it creates a greater basis for appeal. We'll see. It'll be more than a year before we know what the outcome of the appeal is. We'll be well past the November election by then.
But again, that is how the system is supposed to work. You have your day in court and you have every option to appeal. Yeah. We have 30 seconds left for each of you, and I want to ask both of you, what should we, regardless of our political affiliations, what should we as Americans take away from this case, this extraordinary day in American history?
Well, I think it's a sad day
above the law.
Democracy, that a former president, whether Democrat or Republican, has been convicted of a felony. Also that I'm not sure that it's really going to affect the election that much. It may actually help his chances to raise money among his hardcore base, but among the undecideds and those who are concerned about the rule of law and the image and the example that a president sets for the rest of the country and for the future generations, I think it will hurt him in some of the key swing states.
Rob, I'm going to give you the final word.
Yeah, I think it could hurt him. I mean, certainly if the election were held today, the polling shows us it costs him at least some support. What the effect is this fall is another matter altogether. So much can happen in the next 6 months, or less than 6 months now. So we'll see what the ultimate impact is. And it isn't just about how people decide to vote. It's about whether people decide to vote at all. So the impact of this verdict on voter turnout will be key as well.
And as you said so aptly, no one is above the law, is what we saw today.
Right.
Gary Locke, Rob McKenna, on this just really historic, unprecedented day, we really appreciate your time and your insight tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.